Welcome to Autism and Goodness. My name is Tiffany. Yeah, I took a week off. Just wasn't feeling it last week. Didn't really have a lot I wanted to say, so I don't want to just put anything out there unless I have something important to say or something that's on my mind. And last week it just was not up to snuff or not feeling it per se. But this week I'm back because I have stuff to talk about. So I know I talked about very general about IEPs in previous videos. So a James the second update, we have his IEP coming up. That's scheduled for the 15th of this month. So we're going to actually going to go in and have the IEP meeting. And I think one thing that stood out for me when I got the notice asking if we were available that day and time is the paperwork, because if you've never done an IEP before, they actually send you a form that shows, it's basically like it's a form that shows it's like an invitation form. It's actually called something, but for lack of a better term, it's basically like once the date is confirmed, the time, they send you a form and that saying this is the date and the time, these are the attendees, and all that. So on it, it said for grade 14, because this is his second year of or it will be for his second year of adult transition, which is technically his grade 14. So yeah, not sure how I feel about that. Things just trigger you for whatever reason, and I don't know. I think I've said before, I really wish things were progressing a little bit more than they were, but I can't control that. But as I said before, I celebrate small wins. He is doing better. He's showing improvement. So the whole point of the IEP is to kind of set up that plan to see how we can work through some of the things that are still challenges for him, while also highlighting his strengths and seeing how we can tap into those strengths. So I just want to talk about kind of how I go into IEP meetings, just like before and then during, just some things that I've done over the years. Hopefully that's helpful to you. I know people just like to think if they tell you it's going to be all right and say they're praying for you, that then it will be so. But I actually have to prep for the meeting, and I have to be a participant in the meeting in order to be able to get the most out of the meeting and make sure he has a solid plan. So there's actual work that has to be done. So appreciate those prayers though. But like, I actually have to work at this. So before I go to an IEP meeting, I usually try to look at the previous IEP to kind of see what was there. This year's a little weird because when we did the IEP previously, he was planning to do that internship with the hospital through Project Search, but that got switched while it was the summer, so we kind of wrangled things around. So we didn't really revisit that IEP per se, because I think they were really trying to, get a handle on who he is, and like just learning him. So it was like kind of put it on pause. So but what I normally do is I look at the previous year's IEP to kind of jog my memory about what we established, any challenges, goals, things that we're going to work on by this time period, things we're going to work about, just to refamiliarize myself with what we put for the last period. Then what I also like to do is I like to write down things that I'd like to work on with him, whether it be something that I'm actively working on him with, or things that I'm noticing that he's doing that I'd like to work towards having him improve. It's usually always it's communication, and like conversational speech is always kind of the top thing in my head, which, I mean, I can say that I do notice some improvement there. He is attempting to try to initiate conversation, more so in social settings, not so much, but like with me and like James Sr., I think he does more, or tries to. And then I think, yeah, that's usually my main one, is like improving the conversational speech. And then but yeah, I usually just go in with kind of things that are on like top of mind, of things that I'd like to opportunities for improvement, things I'd like to have him work on for the going into the next school year. Then I also like to gather all the strengths. So I always joke it's like we hate IEP meetings, but we love IEP meetings. So because it's like an IEP meeting usually lasts roughly an hour, so you kind of sit and talk for an hour about all the things that are not right with your child, for lack of a better term. But you do have the opportunity to talk about strengths, and so I do like to come in like with some like I can rattle off strengths off the top of my head, but I do like to kind of just jot some down and just get my words together so that I can highlight those. And a lot of times when we have IEP meetings and I bring up a strength and I explain what the strength is, like they didn't know that he could do that. Like, oh wow, okay. So then that gives the staff like put a battery in their back to kind of think about other things. Oh, okay, we didn't know that he could do that. We could look into maybe doing this here at school or have him work towards this. So it is also interesting because I've never done I did the IEP in high school going to adult transition. This is my first IEP on the adult side, so just understanding how it's set up, because it's not really set up like traditional school as you know it. It's like set up more like kind of a work environment a little bit. So just trying to get a feel of like how that's going to work. But this is just traditionally what I do when I go in IEP. So come back and say, oh, I learned this or I learned that. So it might be just a little bit different than what I'm used to. But I think it's kind of, for the most part, be the same. It's just structurally it might look a little different. But we can talk through that after I go to the meeting because I'm not really sure what to expect. And then I think what's important is if your child is verbal and can communicate with you through any method, ask them for their input. It may not be a lot, but just trying to understand what their perceptions of things are. So I asked James, hey, what would you like? Do you like school? He says yes. And I asked him, what do you plan to get out of school? And so he said something to the effect, like to learn, I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was like basically to learn how to be important or something like that. And I said, oh, well, after school, what would you want to do? And he wasn't sure how to answer that. So I said, well, would you like to work somewhere? Oh, yes, I'd like a job. So just I'm trying to integrate him into the process because it's important that he's involved and, he has a say and he at least understands what's happening, or I don't want to be making decisions in a vacuum, even though, cognitively he may not fully understand everything, but for the most part he sort of understands. He understands that he goes to this place, is called a school, the school looks different than what it did before, so it took him a minute to learn that. He goes 2 days a week and actually does an actual job off site from the school, not paying, but just kind of a job training situation. So yeah, I think if you can get any type of feedback from your child, that'd be great too. But understandable, like if your child doesn't have any communication, or I say nonverbal, but if your child just cannot communicate at all, then of course you have to just make those decisions yourself. But it is important if you're able to get some feedback from your child to gauge them for feedback. And then the last thing I like to do is just remain zen, because 14th IEP. So yeah, it'll be my 14th. I'm just trying to think through. Yeah, this will be my 14th IEP. They don't get easier per se. You just kind of learn, learn how to manage your emotions and manage your feelings, because it's not, like I said, you gotta sit for an hour and talk about like all the stuff that's wrong with your kids. It's not great, but it's necessary. So it's just something that we just have to do as special needs parents. So just try to remain zen. Whatever helps you with your zen, try to tap into that. Because it's not the best, it's not easy, but you want to just you don't want to go in there on the defense. You want to go in there with an open mind. You want to go in there, as a team player. You just don't want to go in negative. You want to go in, positive, keep an open mind. And so with that, so that is what I do before an IEP. I'm going to now talk about what I do during the meeting. Like I said before, you want to go in an IEP meeting with an open mind. You want to make sure that you you're receptive to receiving information. You don't want to, not my child. Like, you don't want to do that. And I never really, if it's ever been a situation they gave me like super negative feedback of anything, like with his behavior, but you have to understand they see him like most of the week. Like, you know what I mean? Like, especially with schools, they really see him. And they probably see a different version of your child. So, and I know that's similar with James because it was something that he was doing at school. Like, I can't remember what it was exactly. Something he was doing at school. I was like, well, he doesn't do that at home. But they were catering to him at school as if this was a normal thing. I'm like, no, he don't do that at home. You can stop that. Like, they were like doing extra things for him. That I was like, no, he doesn't. I was like, he can do all that. No, you can stop it. So, but that was more so me just telling them, like, you don't have to, do this extra support for him. He's very capable of doing this. He's only doing it because you're offered to do it. And of course he's going to say yes, but you can make him do the thing. I can't remember exactly what it was. But yes, you want to keep an open mind, keep your advocate hat on, because you're still an advocate. Even though you're keeping this open mind, you still want to advocate. Make sure that, it's fair. You understand what's going on, which leads me to my next one. The school will usually have some established goals coming into the IEP meeting. Nothing is really set in stone where that has to be it. If you don't agree with a goal, you don't understand a goal, you need more clarity on the goal, ask questions, understand, like, well, why do you want him to work on that? Like, I've never had a situation where they've established a goal and I didn't understand it or I didn't think it was right. But I'm really always in lockstep with the school and the teachers. But if for whatever reason it's just brand new information to you, just ask questions. Don't feel like you just have to accept everything. Just don't be afraid to ask questions. You don't even have to ask, again, you don't have to be defensive. Just like, I just want to understand. Because honestly, those goals, those aren't just for school. You should honestly be working those goals at home too. Whatever you can do at home to try to help facilitate, getting those goals, like help him reach those goals. Think about what you can do at home to support those. It's not just an IEP, yes, is a document for when he's at school, but it's really like, this is a document that's going to help him in life. So you want to make sure you're supporting that at home, on the home front as well. If you don't agree with, so there's a section within the IEP where they talk about his, like, support. So, like, how many hours he's, doing certain things. If your child gets, like, occupational therapy or speech therapy at school, how many hours is it for that, per week? And then, when he was still doing general education, so he had like a certain percentage of time he spent in general education, a certain percentage of time, which was usually more within the special education program. So that breakout, just making sure you understand that, you're clear. Any support aids he needs, like parapros, calculators. If there's a support that you feel that they need and it's not listed, ask about it. Like, and like, hey, my child, I feel, needs this particular support because of X, Y, and Z. Ask the question. Like, that's what we're here for. Like, the point is to put the plan together that all parties agree on it, on the best path forward to help your child. So just don't just take something and be like, yeah, okay. Like, just you're an active participant in this. It's not just the school making all the decisions. You need to be involved. So speak up. Ask questions. You don't agree with the support, you think there's support missing, just ask. If there's a support listed that you're like, I don't really think he needs that, but let's keep it on there and just kind of reevaluate. Just speak, like, verbalize that. It's an open, it should be an open discussion. If you're getting shut down for any reason, then just advocate for yourself and your child. Because you shouldn't be getting shut down as a parent. Like, if you're just asking general questions, you're not being defensive, you're just asking questions so that you can understand. Come from a place of, I'm trying to understand so I can know the best way that we can help. our son or daughter. So, and I guess the other thing is that if you can bring someone with you from a support standpoint, if you feel like you don't, if you taking a step back and you're going back to like the pre, if you feel like before you go into this IEP, like, you know what, I feel like I feel like this is going to be a little bit of a battle. Again, I'm trying to give out different scenarios. I've never really personally had any issues with school. I've been very, very fortunate because there's a lot of people who do have issues with their IEP in the school and the school providing the right supports in IEP and all that. So if you feel you're going to go in this meeting and it's just not going to be a very productive conversation, they're just going to be very dismissive about things, try to have someone come with you. Even if it's really not that, it's kind of helpful to have someone come with you. That's just a lot of weight on one person. Like, you know what I mean? So as a person who's gone to many of the IEPs like solo, because James Sr. was working midnights at the time, like, that's a lot. Like, and those were like those were like the terrible years. I had to do those. So like, it's not great. So it's like, even if you have someone there just as a emotional support, that's helpful. And it doesn't have to necessarily be, I've talked before about, like, support groups or like, advocates, that you can hire to help, like a third party to help kind of, be an intermediary between you and the school. Like, that's a person. But if you have a family member that can just come with you and just be a support person with you, that's so just someone just hold your hand, someone just, help speak for you when you can't articulate because you're emotional, like just someone that can just be there in your corner, I think is helpful, because these meetings they're necessary, but sometimes they're not easy. And I always find that they start off a lot harder than they end. So like, usually how it goes for me is my anxiety is like up here before or the week going into it, and then like I get there and I'm like, oh, okay, then we sit down and we're usually all real cordial and we sit and laugh and talk and shoot the shit, and then we get into it, and then usually we start with the strengths and opportunities for improvement, and then go into, so by the time you kind of get to maybe 3/4 of the way through, my anxiety level usually goes down a bit. But yeah, they don't get easier. I'm sorry. I wish I had better news. They don't get easier. And I think because there's such this emphasis on adulthood and independence, and like this is real life stuff. Like, this isn't like, oh, is he gonna learn algebra or not? Like, nah. What can we do to help him get a job is where we're at. So, and be able to take care of himself. So yeah, these are like tougher decisions, but like, I think every year that there's something you're facing or a decision you have to make, and you face it the best way that you can at the time. But yeah, having a support in your back pocket or in your corner is super helpful if you can. If not, just like I said, just be zen, just be easy going in. Prepare, bring a notebook, bring something to write notes with. If you have any like documentation or paperwork, if you even saw like a program or resources that you're looking into, bring that and talk about that during the meeting and say, hey, I'm looking into this program for this, that, and they may have heard about it. They may be able, oh, I know of another program like that's this. Like, this is your time. You're tapping into like all the resources at your school within this meeting. So get as much of it out of it as you can. Don't go in empty-handed. Don't go in without any input or any thoughts behind it, because this is your child. So it's not the school's job to just do all the stuff. You have to be a partner and do it. You have to work with the school. It should be 50 back and forth, like a team. They should be give and take. Should be everyone working together for the best of your child. And if you come in there and be like, oh, I guess, oh, I think so, oh no, like, then like they gonna be looking at you like, well, do you want the IEP or not? Like, it's just yeah. I just hear stories over the years of like people just not being engaged in like the IEP meetings, and that just sounds bizarre to me. Like like Yeah, I'm not gonna go to a meeting about my child and making plans to help him for his future and not be engaged. Like, I don't care what job I have, how busy I am, or whatever. I'm gonna make the time because this is my child. So that's neither here nor there. I'm not gonna go off on a soapbox about that. But make sure you're prepared. Make sure you're zen. Keep an open mind. Bring a notebook. Like I said, take notes. Bring any resources that you've been looking into or considering or have signed up for, just to bring it up, because they might even ask you, oh, let us know how it goes, because we can kind of monitor on this end if we're seeing a difference based on what you did over there. Because this is like the adult transition program, we're also inviting, I don't know if they're going to come or not, but we're inviting his caseworker from MRS, Michigan Rehabilitation Services. So he's going to do the summer work program again this year, starting July. So he hasn't been assigned of where he's going to be working yet, but they also offered the invitation to that person because MRS is supposed to be also creating plans on his behalf as far as like employment and like, you know, path to employment. So and being able to provide opportunities to different opportunities for employment. So yeah, so that has been put out to them, and it also helped MRS for when he works in the summer to understand what his goals, strengths, strengths, opportunities for improvement, and anything that's in his IEP, to kind of understand what supports he might need when he goes to the summer work program. So you got to tie it all together. So again, like I said, everybody likes to say, you know, oh, he'll be all right. He's doing great. Well, I'm in these streets working though. You can't just like he just doesn't go to the program and like ta-da, like it doesn't. There's prep, there's planning, there's goal set, there's and again, this is year 14, baby. Still in this boy. Like I'm still doing it. I did it for preschool, I did it for kindergarten, I did it for all of years. Did it. So it just doesn't happen overnight. So I just sometimes that irritates me a little bit. Oh, he'll be fine. You don't know that, and I'm working so hard over here trying to make sure he's somewhat okay. So just know that it's a lot that goes into these, and if you know someone in your life that has a child and they're new to the IEP process, they're telling you about it, hopefully this is helpful to kind of guide them a little bit and explaining them what's going to happen, what their expectations should be. I'm always open for questions for anybody. I talk about this stuff all the time, but just so that they know, because it's uncharted territory for some people. Like, they've never done this before. They're scared. They're nervous. They don't know what this means. They don't even know if some people just think they just have to come and like just sit there. Cause that was how it was in my first IEP meeting. Cause I had no idea, cause nobody tells you this stuff. So my first IEP meeting, I didn't even know what it was. I had no idea. The school, I was very, very fortunate to be in a district where they educated me on the IEP process a lot. And like, they set the standard for what my expectations are when I have an IEP, or what I expect from the district, what I expect from the school. So I was very fortunate, but again, a lot of people don't get that. So I just want people to be mindful that the amount of work that goes into the output that you see. And I'm not saying that to like get bragging rights, but it's just like, it's a little dismissive to tell a parent that has a special needs child that, oh, he'll be all right when you like, sorry, okay. But like, it's just, yeah, it's a lot. It kind of grinds my gears a little bit. But anyway, yeah, I hope me walking through kind of my pre and during IEP process, what it looks like, hope that's helpful to people. When I come out of his IEP, I might do a James 2 update, depending on, outcome and what we went through, if anything like of interest came out of that. And then we'll do a James 2 update when we figure out where he's going to be working this summer. So that's going to be pretty cool. I have a little treat that I'm going to tag at the end of this. We did have a little outing today. He had a great time, so I have a little bit of footage of that. So that'll be your treat for me ranting and raving for 20-something minutes. Learn something about kind of what I do. Your process might look a little different, but I hope that's at least foundationally, like, just know you need to bring something. Not your pretty face, not your pretty smile. You need to bring something, and you need to be a contributor to these meetings, and you need to still be an advocate. So you still got to do it. But yeah, hope it's helpful. Have any questions about anything, please drop them in the comments. Or people usually just ping me on Facebook. Whatever works for you. If you just have a comment or a question about anything, or want me to go deeper into anything IEP related. But yeah, I think that's about it. Maybe one day, I'm trying to think of a good IEP story where it was like, yikes. I have to think through that, because I mean, after 14, I'm trying to like piece them all together. Like, was that this? Da, da, da. I think the most notable IEP we had was when we made the decision to switch from a high school diploma track to a certificate of completion track. So maybe I'll tell that story at some point. But yeah, I'm gonna close it. Let you get into some James II content, because there's a lot of James II fans out there. So I want to make sure I'm feeding that need of that content. But yeah. But until then, I will turn it over to James II. So this is video, so you can talk too, okay? So where are we at?
Train?
What kind of train?
Thomas?
Really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
Happy.
Happy? You look pretty happy. Oh, I think we're getting ready to go. Ready? Ready? Thumbs up? All right. There he goes. On to another adventure.
Yay! Going,
Yeah. Here we go. Here we go.
Wave bye, everyone.
Say bye.
I don't think I'd want to go to Bobby's. Oh, green water, yucky. Oh, I don't think so.
A lot of decisions. Okay, how'd you enjoy that with Thomas?
Good.
Yeah? You bought something? Hold your bag up. Yeah? You bought some goodies? Yeah? More to the collection.
Yeah.
Yeah.